Hi guys, Marcus Kakin here from BlindsideFootball.com. Here to tell you a little bit about our premium DFS content we're rolling out this year. We got a lot of great stuff for you, including premium articles, weekly game breakdowns where we have little write-ups on every player you may be considering for your DFS team that week, weekly projections with salary analysis from FanDuel, DraftKings, and Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. And don't forget about our advanced statistics. We got strength of schedule statistics, defense versus position statistics that tell you things as in-depth as how many receptions are allowed to the running back two on an opposing team, and obviously red zone statistics as well. Probably one of the best things, though, about our package is it's totally free if you're not winning money. That's right, guys. If you don't win money in your 50-50s and your cash games and your head-to-head matchups, just let us know and we'll refund you back that portion of your subscription. And finally, guys, we're going to be giving away prizes from time to time. You sign up now with us before the beginning of the season, and we're going to be giving away a Jamal Charles signed football to one lucky subscription member. But we didn't want to stop there. We want to have 2 lucky subscription members. So in addition to the Jamal Charles signed football, we are also giving away a grand prize of an A.J. Green signed Bengals jersey. That's right, guys. Sign up with us today. Just $4.99 a week, $14.99 a month, or the best value, $39.99 for the year, and get all this content. Plus, we'll refund you back if you're not winning. And hey, great swag like this, guys. So sign up today, and let's start winning money together.
And now, the Blindside Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Marcus Katkin and Matt Dugal.
Guys, we're back for another podcast. We missed last week, and I guess that was partially because of my fault there, taking a vacation last week right during draft season for a lot of people, so my apologies on that. But we're back to finally do the running back podcast we had talked about. And guys, I spent the vacation building us a nice little new podcasting studio. What do you guys think of it? You guys like this?
I love it. Yeah, this thing is crazy.
Coming up in the world.
What a desk, if anybody can see it.
Feels very legit here in this studio.
Getting back to Marcus taking vacation last week, and long story short, basically, he said, fuck off to all you. We got drafts going on, but he took it. Who cares?
There's no vacations in fantasy football here.
Yeah, that was my week.
You got all off season to take a damn vacation.
Hey, it's the off season, sort of, right now.
No, it's in season, baby.
But yeah, gave me a week to get all my shit together for my drafts and things coming up. Even had one myself. But all right, let's get into these running backs, guys. First off, maybe this is clear cut. It wasn't clear cut for me even before the Jordy Nelson injury. I had Lacy as my number 1 running back overall. Who do you guys have as your number 1 running back? I think there's probably 3 or 4 guys probably in that conversation. Rob, who do you have as your number 1 running back? If you had the first pick overall in the draft, who are you going with?
If I had the first pick, I'm taking Peterson. And I have a feeling Matt's going to echo that.
Matt's a homer.
That
He's
statement,
totally going Peterson.
Yeah. I'm not a homer, and I would take Peterson number 1. I think you have to believe in the talent. I read into the off the field factors a little more than most. I think, and I think this year that motivation drives him to number 1. I like the offense. I think he's going to catch some balls. During the quarterback podcast, I talked about my love for Bridgewater, so I think that offense overall is going to be a good space for fantasy production. I think he leads it.
Matt, confess your love for Adrian Peterson.
Do I even need to waste time? Of course, that's what I'm thinking.
All right, who's your number 2 then?
My number 2.
Let's just move to number 2 then.
I'm still on Le'Veon Bell. Pouncey going down, I think, is serious. That's something you really got to take into account. And actually, it makes it so. I actually, you know what? I had Bell and Peterson basically tied. My tiebreaker was the fact that I'm a Vikings fan, and I was going to be more happy to watch the Vikings than the Steelers, and that's literally the way I was looking at it. That's how close I thought they were. But with the Pouncey news, an injury, broken ankle, correct? Last
he's having ankle
game.
surgery.
That's huge. That's your quarterback of your offensive line. He's a all-pro stud. So losing him in the middle can really hurt that offensive line. I mean, look what happened in Cleveland last year when Mack went down. That that running game took a turn for the worse.
So they lose their center, but we just talked about it. Nelson goes down for the season, which presumably should help Eddie Lacy. That doesn't push Lacy ahead of Bell for you.
No, because I don't know if it definitely helps. Jordy's the deep threat. That's the guy that takes the top off the deffe, and if you don't have a guy...
But who are they going to in the red zone now? That's I mean...
Well, they went to Randall Cobb plenty last year.
Such a tiny guy, though.
I understand there's a ton of targets. I don't have the number in front of me to go off, that have to go other places. So, sure, there may be an uptick, but also you're losing a weapon like that in the offense, it's got to hurt the offense, I think. Although I do believe Aaron Rodgers is that good where he'd make me a number 4 wide receiver. So I think the guys filling in, Devontae Adams namely, will be just fine. So you can look at it from both sides, I think. I agree. I think it probably will help the output a little bit, but I still just love what Le'Veon... I think you're splitting hairs now, even closer.
I mean, for me, again, I have Lacy number 1. Bell is my number 2, just because I'm not on the Adrian Peterson bandwagon. Rob, who's your number 2?
I'm going Lacy here, and I think I know I'm lower on Bell than most are, and I can't overlook the 2-game suspension. I would hate starting my season 0-2 and then having Bell moving forward without getting him at a value, and you're not getting him at a value at 1 or 2 or 3 even. So for me, he's outside of my top 3. I see Lacy as that next guy, as you mentioned, but for Bell, if I'm taking a guy in my top 3 picks, he's gonna be there at least the first 2 weeks. I've heard some arguments that are saying this will help Bell long term, help kind of curb those carries, make him come out of the gate.
Yeah, I can see that.
So there's that argument, but I'm not taking that. I want my stud there the first 2 weeks. I want to start 2-0.
In our home league, I got the 3rd pick, and I've been saying basically since we went through the order that whichever one of those 3 fell to me, honestly, I would be absolutely pumped about. So. It's splitting hairs.
Well, I think we can all agree that the top 3 in some order are Peterson, Charles, and Bell.
Yep.
After that, closely behind them is...
Lacy,
sorry.
Yeah.
Lacy, Peterson, and Bell.
Yep.
Followed closely by Lynch and Charles in some order. After those top 5, who is your number 6, and how early are you comfortable drafting them?
For me, I'm gonna stick, I think, with Matt Forte. I know with Tressman leaving, there's some concern about the catches, and I don't think that's going to happen. The 102 receptions last year?
Yeah.
So there's some concern there. I mean, other guys that I absolutely love as well, but there's just so many questions with all of them. Jeremy Hill, there's the Gio Bernard factor. C.J. Anderson, Ronnie Hillman's looked really good, and I don't know. CJ's, I think, definitely no doubt going to be the guy, but God, Ronnie Hillman's looked good this preseason. He's got to get some work. So I think I still like the Forte. I know he's 30. Well, I think he's still 29, not quite 30 yet. Going to be 30 soon. For me, it's still him. I just hopefully the running production will be up a little bit because I think he's going to have to make up for it on that side of the spectrum. Not going to have 102 receptions this year.
I'm going Murray. High-powered offense. I'm a little worried about the work he had last year, but, I think even if he misses a few games, that points per game basis, he is just going to be dominant and be a number 6 overall running back for me. Rob, who's your number 6?
And we didn't talk about this at all before, but I have Murray there too.
Thank you.
I see like a four running back tier as that tier 2 with Anderson, Forte, Murray, and Hill. Murray, I see it as very equal between. I go back and forth between Murray and Forte, but the tiebreaker for me is that offense and that offensive line specifically. So, people are saying Matthews will lead into that production, whereas Forte doesn't have that. But I think that helps Murray in the long run. I think that offense is productive enough to have one stud, potential top 5, and then another guy, potential top 20. I think 2 running backs can thrive in that offense.
Now, Matt, you brought up a good point. You brought up C.J. Anderson and Ronnie Hillman in that whole situation. I am, for one, very, very down on C.J. Anderson this year. At what point are you comfortable drafting C.J. Anderson? What pick would you say, okay, right here is where I would take C.J. Anderson? For me, it's not at least until the beginning to middle of the second round. That's how down on him I am.
Yeah,
and even then, I'd probably have a lot of wide receivers going before him.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of depends on what's on the board at the time, but because I agree, there's a couple wide receivers I'd rather go with. You know, Peyton Manning's offenses tend to stick to, you know, a bell cow. They don't like to move guys in and out often. CJ had an outstanding end of the season, so certainly I can see where he's going to be the bell cow again. The problem is, I don't know that for sure. It's a whole new regime. You like the regime. Absolutely. They like to run the football, so the Hillman thing scares me. You still have Monty Ball lingering, although, you know, he's been moved down to 3 in the depth chart just recently, so I think Hillman's definitely leapfrogged him. Hillman is just such a different type guy, so I could see using a little change of pace, getting Hillman in there. Anderson could be. I wouldn't be crazy if he. I mean, it wouldn't be crazy if he finished number 1 for me. But where am I going to take him? I think I'm with you on that. I think you're right. Probably more like there's just too many questions for me. I haven't seen enough.
I'm just way down on him. Rob, how do you feel about C.J. Anderson?
A lot of his value is obviously tied to Peyton Manning, so I think it depends on, you know, whether you're in the Peyton Manning camp or not, whether he can be the same quarterback he's been. You know, we're looking at Fantasy Pros here. We're looking at some of the ADPs and the rankings, and Anderson's worst ranking among 51 experts is 17. So I think collectively we would be on the bottom end of this ranking list, but his ADP is 8. I think for me, if I had one of those swing picks in a 12-pick league, I think I'd end up going wide out in CJ, but I wouldn't feel great about it, but I also wouldn't feel great about letting him slip that much further than that. I think he's talented enough, but you're talking to a guy who drafted Monty Ball last year in the second round of our home league, so I don't trust that Denver offense to stick with one running back if he goes down for a couple weeks or if he has a couple off weeks. So I'm with you guys. Collectively, we're low on C.J. Anderson.
I mean, even going back to last year, Monte Ball was the number 1, then it was Hillman's turn, then it was finally Anderson's turn. I get it, it's a different coaching regime and all that. It just, he doesn't seem to have been the guy from the beginning anyway. Like, I guess I don't see that fundamental change. I don't see that, you know, this is the guy we definitely want to be the Rock and blah, 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 blah. And I think the whole moving to a running game is blown out of proportion for Peyton Manning. 597 pass attempts last year. It was down 60 from the year before. How much lower does it go than 597?
And how much of that 60 was the end of year injury?
Exactly.
Having to change, you know, what they were going to do. Yeah, and I don't care who the hell the coach is.
Yeah.
No one's going to come in and tell Peyton, hey, we're going to be running the football. I don't want all this audibling. No, it's still Peyton's going to run this offense. I don't think you bring them in unless that's clear.
And he's going to audible out of that run play every so often.
No, he audibles. He doesn't audible to a passing play because he wants to have a lot of yards. He makes the right decisions at the line of scrimmage.
But that's I don't know. I mean, I guess it's getting off topic from the running backs, but just going to Peyton here for a second. Peyton Manning, back in 2004, when he had his 49 passing touchdowns, which was the record for the longest time until Brady came in and broke it, 497 pass attempts. So under 500 pass attempts, and he still managed 49 touchdowns and 4,500 yards. Peyton can get it done with minimal pass attempts, and I don't think it's ever getting that low again.
Yeah.
I just think the whole, you know, it's going to a running game thing is just blown way out.
Well, and the Kubiak, and another thing is you look at Kubiak and what he's had at the quarterback position in the places he's been. Of course, his running backs are studs, and he's got, you know, Foster. Granted, Forsett was a little bit of a surprise with what he did last year, but, you know, and Flacco's no Peyton Manning, but
Flacco.
Yeah, that's what I said, Flacco.
Oh, I thought you were
for
Baltimore. Back to the Houston days.
Yeah. So no, moving on. Just the last year, and Forsett, and so you know, he's never had a Peyton Manning. So I don't look at, a lot of people are looking at those stats saying he's a bell cow guy. It's a new situation.
Yeah.
So.
Jeremy Hill, LaShawn McCoy, which one do you have ranked higher? Rob, it sounded like you had Hill higher because you didn't even put McCoy in that tier. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm lower on McCoy than most this year. You know, the injury, I was low on him before the injury, which they're saying isn't big. He'll be back week 1. But I think for me, it's and I say this after that horrible Bengals offensive show the other night. But
the Bucs too.
Yeah,
the Bucs are a terrible defense.
I never thought I would ever say this, but I trust the Bengals more than I trust the Bills in terms of offensive production.
I don't blame you there.
Yeah, so for me, it's mainly the system. I don't trust Rex Ryan to produce an offensive bell cow running back. I mean, granted, he's been with the Jets, so again, if I made the argument about Kubiak and his situation, I can't really knock Ryan and his. But
so Rex Ryan, he does. He likes to run the ball, but he likes to run the ball with the committee quietly. He hasn't had a running back with over 225 carries, I think, in like 5 or 6 years, maybe even 7 years. It was going back a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we saw last year's committee. So yeah, for me, it's Hill, and I'm higher on Hill. I think it's more that I'm higher on Hill than I'm low on McCoy. So. I think Hill has a great year. I'm not reading into that fumble in the other night's game. I think he's going to be just fine. I think he fends off Gio pretty well, and as long as AJ Green and Dalton can continue to stretch the field, I think Hill will have the opportunities to make some plays.
I've always been high on McCoy. I got McCoy. I had DeMarco Murray, C.J. Anderson, Jeremy Hill.
Wow.
I mean, Rex Ryan, just a few days ago, he thinks he's going to have 1,000 yards receiving and rushing. He's going to be factored in this game plan.
That'd be crazy.
Heavily. If Tyrod Taylor gets this job too, there's the train of thought that running quarterbacks open up those lanes naturally for a running game.
Just put away your head.
But for me, McCoy. I have him over Hill. There's no question who the guy is going to be in Buffalo. There's no question, I guess, in Cincinnati either. But Gio's not going to stay off the field.
Yep.
He's going to get work. He's a very, very good player.
So you're not worried about Jackson at all? I mean, granted, he's on the way down.
Just the head coach coming out for me and saying, and coaches talk, and especially this coach, but 1,000 yards, both receiving and rushing.
Yeah, that's nuts.
It's in their vision. I like it. But I've always been high on McCoy. I've always been a little higher than most.
I understand the whole argument about the rushing quarterback. I get that, though I feel is going to happen.
How do you know? He's never played. He's been behind Joe Flacco, a Super Bowl quarterback.
There's going to be a lot of stacked boxes that are going to make... if I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm going to make Tyrod Taylor beat me. And if Tyrod Taylor beats me, I deserve to be out of a job at the end of the year.
If Tyrod Taylor beats you... by throwing to LaShawn McCoy because he has to check down quite a bit. Ooh.
Again,
open field.
I just stack box.
I told you where I like
stack
McCoy.
box.
I've got him over all those guys right behind Forte. I got him ahead of Murray. There's just no question as far as touches if he stays healthy for me. I'm big on touches.
Let's move on a little bit here because we've got obviously a lot of running backs we want to cover here probably. Lamar Miller, a guy that's been getting a lot of hype, and I really am not understanding that fully. Never really seemed to get more than 15 touches a game. They really didn't want to seem to give him a big workload. And, they bring in Jay Ajayi, who obviously is struggling in camp right now, but is still going to be somewhat competition with him. And then Damian Williams obviously looking good in the preseason. I'm not really understanding fully the Lamar Miller hype. Like, Lamar Miller, Frank Gore, which one are you guys taking first? I'm taking Frank Gore first. I've got Alfred Morris. I even got Melvin Gordon ahead of Lamar Miller. Woo! Tell me why I'm crazy.
I have Frank Gore ahead of him. I agree with you there. I don't think that's crazy. The only concern with Lamar, very talented guy, is like you said, the touches. They kept him at 15 or less last year. That's kind of like their sweet spot. They did bring in Jay Ajayi. So does that mean anything? Who knows? I'm bringing that up, by the way, not because I'm worried he's going to take any reps from him. Really, it's just you're drafting a guy at that position. Does it mean you're not completely in love with Lamar Miller? What was Ajayi? What round was he? 3? Fifth.
But he was a second or third round talent. Yeah. Just the knee issues pushed him to the.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I like Miller. I think he's a guy that could have a potential breakout type year. I just like Gore more in the offense he's going to be in, and I've seen more from him.
Like I said, for me, they just never seem to want to commit to Miller, and then drafting a running back, and then bringing in all those receiving weapons for Tannehill. I just feel like they're going to throw more. What do you say, Rob?
I believe if the volume is there, I mean, Matt, you mentioned McCoy and the touches, and that's why you like him. If the volume's there, I think there's.
But is the volume going to be there?
Yeah, we don't know.
Well, and that's what they're saying. He bulked up a bit. He's up to 225 reportedly. So he's put on a little bit of size. He's kind of, for me, he's at least outgrown that Ellington phase. But I see him as, if he can break through and get consistent carries, then I think he adds a lot of value. But one thing I don't like is I hate how people are quoting his yards per carry last year or they're saying his 6.1 yards per carry when running in 3 receiver formations. It feels like people are kind of stretching the stats for him, and I feel like it's
you can make stats work for you or against you.
It's kind of like, it reminds me of Ivory with the Saints, how when he was there, everybody was saying, the yards per carry, great, but the downs that he was in there required, they were passing downs. That's
Plus,
why
when you aren't on the field much, you're fresh all the time.
Exactly. So if Miller gets volume though, and can keep that above 4.5, there's definitely value there. But I think the hype has risen him to that third, 4th round status that I think it's not a value anymore.
I briefly just mentioned Melvin Gordon and how I liked him more than Lamar Miller. Who was each of you guys' number 1 rookie running back this year? Obviously, Amir Abdullah getting a lot of preseason hype. T.J. Yeldon is pretty much going to be the bell cow back for Jacksonville. Rob, who was your number 1 rookie running back this year? It's
Gordon, and I love the 6 rushes for 11 yards in the preseason. I hope he does horrible this Saturday. He didn't play last game. I love that. It's preseason, and I think a lot of people are overreacting. Yes. He looks good in camp. The beat writers are writing great things about him. They're the people that know more than the fans watching a preseason game. So for me, he's clearly the one. But with that said, he's the one on volume. So I don't think he's the most talented running back in the class, but I think his situation, that offense, I think can be productive enough where he can be the number 1. I think Abdullah is the clear 2. But what do you think, Matt?
For me, number 1, I guess, is going to be Gordon because of situation. Maybe Yeldon. I don't think there's anybody there to compete with. We've seen what Storm Johnson and Toby Gerhardt and Denard Robinson can do.
That's been great too that he hasn't been playing either, keeping that value.
Obviously, he's going to fall quite a bit. He might be a nice little steal. Abdullah, for me, is the most exciting guy to watch. But there's just so much uncertainty with Joique Bell. There's no way you can just take him off the field. He's been a solid veteran for years there in Detroit. If Joique Bell wasn't there, no question for me, it's Abdullah. I just love watching that guy play. And Gordon...
Danny Woodhead doesn't bother either of you?
Danny Woodhead and Brandon Oliver, bother me with Melvin Gordon. Everyone thinks they drafted him because he's going to be the bell cow. Well, remember when LaDainian Tomlinson left and it was supposed to be step right in, here comes Ryan Matthews. A small workload his rookie year. I see
200-ish carries.
Yeah, I see, not at small, but I see Woodhead and Gordon are both going to be. Woodhead and Oliver are going to be part of the game plan. I think they're both pretty good players. They're going to take some work away from Gordon, but he's going to be the guy. And I'd say he's number 1 for me. Yeldon, probably number 2, just because I think of opportunity. And the only thing it's funny I say uncertainty with Abdul because we haven't even seen Yeldon play yet, but I think it's pretty clear he's going to be the number 1 guy. So Abdul is my favorite to watch. I think opportunity-wise, he's probably number 3 for me.
You mentioned Ryan Matthews in his rookie season, only 157 rushing attempts.
Right, and remember, everyone's...
Some of that might have been because of injury, though. I don't really remember.
Yeah.
Back in 2010. But, guys, we didn't mention the rookie that was taken, the first rookie running back taken off the board in the NFL draft, Todd Gurley. What are you guys' thoughts on Todd Gurley?
Todd Gurley, how did I forget him? Yeah, wow. Huge mistake right there.
Let's start first.
He was my favorite guy going into the draft, coming out of the draft.
What week does he start playing? I say week 3. I think that's when he comes in. I think he misses the first 2 weeks.
I think he starts playing from the get-go, at least a snap or 2. I mean, it'll be small, but...
You're not worried about the injury at all?
No, I think they're just holding him out, being careful.
Yeah, he's practicing now, so they're easing him into it, and I think they'll ease him into it throughout the year. I mean, they didn't spend a 10th pick on a guy to rush him and re-tear an ACL. Think about that setback for that franchise. So, and they have Mason. It's not like, don't get me wrong, it's not a great offense. They're a little bit desperate, but
he had a good year.
But Mason's he's a suitable, he's a suitable running back. He can get the job done. He's shown he can. There's no reason to rush Gurley into it. But with that said, there's no reason also to hold him back if he's ready. So for me, I think he sees the field week 1 and week 2. I don't think he's fantasy relevant until midway through the season. So I think
midway.
No.
Which
maybe as soon as he's healthy, he'll be relevant. But I don't think Mason's not going to just go away.
He's not going to go away, but I think by, like I said, week 3, week 4, Gurley is going to be in the swing of things, and he's going to be...
So in 3 weeks...
By week 4, Gurley will be a top 20 running back.
A rookie running back can get used to the NFL speed in 4 weeks. Yeah. I would be impressed. If he can, then I'll give it to you here, but...
He's different.
All right.
He's a different animal.
That's a little fast for me. If I'm drafting him...
Nobody's worried about Adrian Peterson being 30, really.
If I'm drafting him as an RB2, I'm nervous for the first half of my season.
What do you think, though? Where do you put him in the... We just talked about the 3. You got him right behind those guys?
I put him 3rd this year. I put him first
so you got him
any
3rd
kind of
behind,
dynasty.
Who are you putting behind between Yeldon? So you're putting Yeldon behind him?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, you mentioned game speed. I don't think game speed is as much of an issue for rookie running backs. I mean, going back to a guy of Trent Richardson's caliber, Trent Richardson, his rookie season, 4 out of his first 5 weeks in the NFL was a top 20 running back fantasy-wise. And that's Trent Richardson. We're talking Todd Gurley.
Yeah, but not to mention, too, that schedule's not favorable early on either. I'm still skeptical. But if he proves me wrong, great. I think a lot of people will be happy with where he's being drafted, but...
Yeah, if he was healthy this preseason, obviously, I think we'd be singing a different tune.
Definitely.
He's another guy that isn't playing the preseason, so that's kind of bringing down his draft value a little bit.
It's gonna be good value draft day.
But I could see drafting him and then really late Trey Mason just to cover your bases, and you're gonna look all right. I think that's a good combo. The next grouping here of running backs, I think, have a lot of question marks, especially for me. Carlos Hyde, Latavius Murray, Jonathan Stewart.
My boy!
Stewart's your boy?
No, Latavius, come on now. Where were you all year last year? Remember we had to say his name every podcast?
Jonathan Stewart and Andre Ellington. I hate all of them. I'm just going to say it right now. I don't like any of those guys.
I think I'm going to quit. Don't ever say you hate Latavius Murray ever again.
And what the listeners don't know is, so Matt every year will have 2 or 3 guys that he's like, I watched this guy and he was great, and nobody else has even heard his name, and he's a 3rd stringer. Yep. Latavius Murray was that guy, probably 2 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about him on this podcast for a while, so now we can all say, hey, I told you so. Maybe. Still can't yet.
Yeah, maybe after
we could that 1 week in Kansas City.
Take that soundbite and save it for later in the season.
You better save that, because you're gonna be selling numerous subscriptions to your website, because we talked about Latavius Murray before anybody. So no, I don't hate everybody there. I love Carlos Hyde. I love Latavius Murray. I have a little bit of Jonathan Stewart love after I made fun of him a couple weeks ago. It's starting to, obviously Benjamin going down was a huge blow to that offense, and that kind of took some light off of him. But, he's a guy, I don't see me drafting him because I'm worried about his injury.
I was just going to say that. For Jonathan Stewart, over or under 12 games this season? I'm taking the under.
I'll go over. I don't like to bet against people getting injured.
I would go over too, but even if you go under, I love his handcuff at the value that you're getting. Yes. Artis Payne looks good, and he's going super late. So that's better than you can say for like a Murray Matthews owner having to draft Matthews in 6th, 7th.
For me, real quick, that's a different situation because I think Murray's going to have 250 carries and probably 300 touches, and I think Matthews, even with Murray getting 300 carries, will get 200, 225.
You can flex Matthews.
I think both of those guys will work together.
And I said that earlier. I think they'll both be productive. But
Stewart and Payne, I think.
I'm just throwing out even Gurley Mason. That's Mason. You're going to have to take Mason significantly higher than you have to take
Gurley Mason.
Gurley Mason.
Cameron Artist Stewart.
But my point is, the value's there late in the handcuff. I like running backs I can draft early, take their handcuffs late, super late.
Clear handcuffs.
Yes. And have that safety with a late round pick.
I meant to bring it up. I didn't feel like interrupting or continuing, but when we were
Always
talking
interrupt.
about
Come on, just let
Latavius,
me
when
right
we
now.
were talking about Latavius Murray, I just want to keep saying that name. When we were talking about Le'Veon Bell, and you didn't like the 2-game suspension.
Yeah.
Replacement level guys you can pick up literally without even drafting almost. D'Angelo Williams. Have him for those first 2 games. He's going to start. You know,
true.
what's he going to be? He's going to be a guy that's going to get enough touches. He's going to be played for him those couple. So
Yep.
if you had him, you might not even have to draft him. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the next 14 games if he stays healthy. I think you got a pretty solid running back there. Jonas Gray is another guy you could pick up for those first couple games. How many Fatso's out for? What, 1 or 2?
Thought one.
1. So yeah,
LeGarrett's out 1.
LeGarrette, yeah. So you got one.
Big fat LeGarrette 1.
Big fat LeGarrette one. We got one there. So that's one thing I didn't bring up earlier. Can someone else talk about Latavius Murray though? Anybody else want to talk about him?
No.
I love him too. I
Yeah.
mean, I traded. So in our home league, I have a lot of 3rd and 4th round picks, and I've pretty much sold out on the upper echelon, the elite guys. But the reason I did is because I love this running back tier.
Yeah.
I love this tier, and
Yep.
Murray I see as the top of this tier for a couple of reasons. 1, volume. 2, health. I think he's less about
volume. They were top 10 last season in passing attempts.
volume in terms of Halu's not going to steal attempts from Murray. Murray's the guy.
Yes.
There are very few people. Well, there are less people in this tier that you can say they're the guy with confidence. For me,
Well, obviously, that's why they're in the 3rd and 4th round.
right. But for me, Murray, I don't see Halu breaking into that production. I'm not nervous about it.
You don't see Trent Richardson coming in?
I neglected to mention that name entirely, but he keeps getting sucked into
Real
this.
quick, can we just all agree Trent Richardson is the handcuff you want if you have Latavius Murray? It's not Roy Halu?
No,
Right.
I think
agree. Okay.
Yeah.
really.
Roy Halu's the 3rd down back. That's what he's been his whole
Right,
career.
right,
I think
exactly.
he's been relegated to that because he was in Washington and he's a better player than that. He could be more of a
He could
every
be,
down
but I
guy.
don't think he is.
Yeah, but I think I agree. It's tough to say.
Even
We don't
after-
really know. We're guessing. Right
After all the hate for Richardson, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even draft him as a handcuff. But
now. No,
with,
me neither. Please don't.
with that,
Wait, we're not drafting handcuffs for Raiders running backs anymore. this isn't a thing that's happening.
Rob, what about not only opportunity but fucking talent? The guy is a stud.
that too.
So-
That too. And that offense, you know,
Love him.
you mentioned Carr. You know, granted, it's
Damn
not.
good rookie year. 21 and 12.
I think it's more respectable than what people are giving him.
Yeah.
It's not a high octane offense, but it's also they don't have a lot of high octane players. You know, so they got Cooper coming in, but
He's getting plenty of respect. He was rated by ESPN GMs. They did that. Or who they talk? Remember the ESPN top 32 quarterbacks?
Mhm.
They rated him higher than Teddy Bridgewater.
We are
Those
spending
idiots.
way too much time on Latavius Murray.
No, we're not.
deservedly.
Oh my God, you two are
At
just...
the end of the year, everyone's going to be pointing to that podcast that won the championship for them.
You two look like you're going to fight over which one's the wife and which one's the mistress in this relationship.
Well, unfortunately, I already know Rob's going to pick him before me because I'm not going to stretch that far, and he's got 78 third-round picks.
All right, let's change up the subject a little bit here. I want to talk about probably a hot topic. Arian Foster, how early is too... Like, where are you guys drafting him? He... on Monday night, I heard it live on the the Football Diehards radio on Sirius Satellite XM when John McClain, a beat writer in Houston, said he's not going to be placed on the injury reserve designated to return, which means he won't be out those first 8 weeks. How early are you willing to take Arian Foster? I had a draft on him last weekend. It's a 16-team league, and I took him with the last pick in the 5th round. But I took him that early because it was a 16-team league, and I said, you know what? This is the type of guy that in a 16, if he plays, is going to jump me ahead in a 16-team league. I needed somebody that could really be a boomer bust guy to help me win a 16-team league. But in a 10-team league, a 12-team league, where is Foster going?
I've been 12-team mocking, and I've been taking him quite often, but late. It's 8th round. That's what I've been
Oh,
taking.
really?
He's lying through his teeth.
That's later than I've seen him in.
No, I'm not lying. I promise you.
6th or 7th.
Yeah,
That's what I was gonna say. I
Yeah.
was gonna say 6 or 7.
I mean, I've been letting him fall past that. I've been taking him in the.
I'm thinking late 6th, early 7th is where I'd be taking him, because I think he's a guy that, when healthy. Let me put it this way: if he was healthy, would he be up there with those top 5 running backs? Yes. At the bottom end of that tier,
Yeah,
I think
100%.
he's in that
Yeah.
tier.
Yep.
I'd have
I
him
agree.
over Murray. Yeah.
There's still obviously a lot of question marks as to where he's going to go, like when he's going to play, I should say. But I think he's kind of worth that gamble at the end of the 6th, early 7th.
I feel like he's the type of player that defines you as a fantasy player. So you have his ADP, you're looking at ADPs, but ADPs are from the beginning when he was healthy. So there's no real way to assess, besides maybe looking at expert rankings or something, or our rankings, and understanding where he goes. But for me, it's the gamble worth taking. Like we talked about Gurley. If I'm waiting a few weeks for Gurley, I'm going to wait 2 more rounds and draft Foster in a heartbeat. So you bring him back if you're confident, and I think it also goes to how your draft's going. If you're confident in your draft and you love your first 5-round guys, you think this is a solid team, then I would reach for that with that safety of knowing,
Yes.
I love how this is going. Why not take a gamble and win it all in those last few weeks?
Yeah, I like it because you figure obviously you go into the season making the playoffs, right? You don't go into a season thinking I'm not going to make the playoffs this year. No, you're going to be there. So imagine what it's like when you can say, all right, I got Arian from my stretch round.
You can
that's
get
exciting.
first-round talent in that 6th or 7th
Right.
round, and that's what I see.
I hear you.
But with that said, you go Gronk or one of the quarterbacks early, you might not have that spot to blow. So you got to read your draft with him in terms of where you reach for him. But I think anywhere in that 6th to 8th round is justified.
Before we keep going, though, we went right over.
Oh,
What do you guys think about
Wait, we keep
Julius
going with it. The
Randle?
podcast isn't over yet?
Randall. Julius Randle.
Joseph Randle.
Joseph Randle, sorry. Yeah, Julius, the former Dallas Cowboy out of Notre Dame.
Tulsa. We
So
were talking about
anyways,
Tulsa earlier before the podcast.
Notre Dame. Oh, yeah. So anyways,
no.
what do you think? The other night I thought it was kind of interesting that he was second team. I
don't-
chatted with you about him, Marcus, and you said, "Oh, they're trying to save him." Well, no, he got more carries than DeMarco. Jesus Christ,
Jesus,
I'm having a
what
rough time.
No kidding, huh?
Darren McFadden. Why should I remember that name?
Somebody's got him on tonight. Jesus.
So, if they're trying to keep him fresh, why are they playing him with the? I just thought before
Not
that
at
game,
all.
I was
Not-
100% no doubt for me.
It's
Randall's the
Joseph
starter.
Randle. It's Joseph Randle.
Why did they do this then?
I'm not.
If you're keeping him fresh to be healthy, playing with the ones.
I'm not.
I don't
worried.
get it.
I'm not worried about it at all.
If you believed in him before the preseason, then you know where you're drafting him. If you were skeptical, you're reading into this like we are, man. I'm the same way. I don't like
It's
how
just
that
weird.
game went at all. Obviously, yeah. And
Like, where's the train of thought? That means he's still going to be the starter. This was the second preseason game. He played with the backups. He was healthy enough to play. He got 7 carries. Why would you put him in with the second string guys?
And the 2 factors I read into is obviously that offensive line is. I mean, if you could draft the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, I feel like that's a well hyped 2nd, 3rd rounder. But what I'm saying is I'm not too high on the rest of the factors. So the team's run by Jones. I feel like it's too whimsical for me. I'm not taking a gamble with either of those guys.
That scared me the other night. Really did.
Real quick, off of Joseph Randle for a second, but Dallas Cowboys offense, 392 rushing attempts last year for DeMarco Murray.
Yeah,
They're
crazy.
not going to get anywhere near that, even with Randall and McFadden combined. I think this goes to a more pass-heavy offense. I really like Des Bryant this year. I really like Jason Witten this year. I'm not a Terrence Williams guy, but I think they move to more of a passing offense.
Yeah, I guess a little bit. You don't have DeMarco there.
392 carries for DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, but what
You're
was
not
it?
giving that to Darren McFadden.
I know, well, no, but what was the number 2? How many did Randall have?
I don't know.
It could be dispersed a little bit more amongst these 2.
Sure.
How much are they going to change the game plan? I don't know, but
Darren McFadden's going to have 50 carries
Slightly.
this year, then
yeah.
break his knee. Have a
So you know what?
hamstring
Yeah,
injury, be done
there's
for
going to be
6
plenty
weeks.
of carries to go around. We know McFadden's going to break his pinky.
And don't forget that defense isn't the best in the world. That's why I think too it's going to be a lot of shootouts for them. They're going to throw the ball a lot. I don't know. I just don't see as many rushing attempts for them this year. I think it's going to be a lot more passing attempts.
I think Randall's one of those guys.
I still
that
think it's
can be-
Randall for me, though. It just,
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not worried about McFadden at all.
So is he a guy you draft, or are you a little bit too worried just stay away from him? Because there is some huge
If I'm
upside
drafting
there.
end of the 4th, early 5th for me on Randall.
Yeah.
And I think your passing offense theory, I trust it more because of that defense. I think they're going to be playing from behind a bit.
Exactly.
So
maybe that suits McFadden more then.
Right.
Maybe. I'm still not.
But that definitely
Randall's way
tips
better
the
out of
scale.
Backfield, catching the ball.
Catching the ball? The McFadden?
Yeah, that's what Randall specialized at Oklahoma State.
McFadden's pretty
Did it
good.
both.
McFadden's pretty good catching the ball.
McFadden's a bum.
He is a bum.
Since 2004.
You're the one talking about. You're the one that's like, oh, I'm worried about Randall
Just because Jerry Jones is running the show there doesn't mean he knows what the hell. I know who should be playing, but I don't know if Jerry does. That's all.
Who do I jump to next? CJ Spiller, getting a lot of hype for the Saints. He's going to be on turf. Historically, has been very good on turf.
If he
I
falls
think
to
he's
me,
being a little. For me, I think he's being a little overhyped.
So where's his ADP?
CJ Spiller
going,
right now.
keep going. 31.
Fantasy Pros, 31st running back off the board, 75th pick overall.
Okay.
So you're talking 6th, 7th round, somewhere in there.
So just quickly looking, 30, Chris Ivory, Doug Martin, 32. I'm taking both of them over him.
Yeah. Agree.
Not too far up, there's Arian Foster. Definitely, we already talked about that. I don't know. The CJ Spiller train, for me, he never lived up to it, and I don't know.
The one intriguing part is this offense.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's an obvious gap, that needs to be filled. Ingram's not going to be even close to the same type player that Spiller is. He can be a good complement, and I think that value's right. So for me, if he slips into 7, I'm drafting him without a doubt.
Well, 7, yes.
But
he's been going earlier than that.
Yeah.
He's and like the NFL 10s I've been seeing, he's been going 5th, 6th, which I think is crazy.
Yeah. That's a little high considering who's there. But he you can't deny he has talent, right? Does any of us say
he's shown talent in the past when healthy, which is like every 6th game.
Right, it's the injury risk. You're gambling on injury. And, in that offense with limited carries, I might take that gamble. Being the bell cow for Buffalo, I'm not going to take that gamble. But in that offense, that might work out for him. We might all...
It could. Like I said, historically he's been very good on turf. The injuries are just very scary. And obviously when they're getting close, it's going to be Mark Ingram.
Agreed.
I wish they just never brought him in this offseason so we could all be so excited about Mark Ingram, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Actually, you know what? Well, let's talk about Mark Ingram. We kind of skipped over him earlier. What are you guys' thoughts on Mark Ingram?
I would have absolutely loved him with a passion if it wasn't for CJ
This
Spiller.
isn't a what-ifs podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, it sort of,
Yeah.
it sort of is. It sort of is.
This is fantasy facts. Fantasy is what
What's
is
going to happen, no doubt.
in general.
You know what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah,
let's talk about what we actually have here.
I mean, how good was he when he was healthy last year? I like him.
Awesome. He was
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, he has not been a guy that I've been drafting. I've been doing a lot of mocks, just to see where guys are going to be falling, of course. It's just, I don't know. He hasn't come to any of my teams. I definitely like him. The concern with me is CJ Spiller's there, so he limits my upside for Mark Ingram, but there's no question who the between the tackle guy is, who the red zone guy is going to be, and he's going to catch the ball too. I think he had 30 receptions last year, roughly.
I'll bring
Just
it up.
off the top of my head,
It's like 25 to 30.
Yeah, so
I'll bring it up.
this guy, don't forget, was the Heisman Trophy winner out of Alabama, and he looked really good. If you remember the way he started last season, he was, on fire. Injury obviously slowed that down. He missed a bunch of games, but I expect a nice season from him. I was just bumming when they brought in CJ. I thought this was going to be Mark's big breakout year.
And I think a lot of people, Graham leaves, and everybody's talking about who the next pass catcher is there. But I think the true benefactor is Ingram. In the red zone, in the red zone, I mean, you mentioned it. He's to me, he's the guy. They don't have that. People are high on Watson right now from that one preseason game, thinking he's the guy. Cooks is an undersized wideout with a lot of talent, but I think Ingram benefits a lot from that. Granted, as you mentioned, with Spiller there, it's not so much in the passing game, but it's touches. It's overall touches, and I think he benefits the most.
Watson's going to help this running game because when Jimmy was in the game, you knew I mean, his lack of blocking skill, I guess you'll call it, is obvious. So Watson's much better as far as that's concerned, and he's still. I like Watson. I think he's going to be a nice little surprise this year. The thing that's obviously going to hurt him in the red zone is you're putting all your eggs in Jimmy Graham if you're a defense, especially down in that red zone area.
That's true.
So there's a lot of focus that's now able to be put somewhere else.
It's the classic argument of touches versus attention.
Yeah.
Mark Ingram, 29 receptions last year. By far a season high. His 3 previous years, 11, 6, and 7.
Yeah, and that has a lot to do with the way they use. It's like last year they finally decided to trust him.
And they finally started to kind of move away from Pierre Thomas.
Yeah.
And if Spiller does get injured, who's that guy? Who's that reception?
Kyrie Robinson's not an out of the backfield type. He's like a Mark Ingram type.
Yeah.
So.
I want to talk about 3 guys that I really like, all right in that same kind of grouping, at least for me, and tell me if I'm wrong. Doug Martin, Bishop Sankey, Ryan Matthews. How do you guys rank those 3? And again, I mean, I really like all 3 of those guys this year. I think Martin and Sankey have the chance to be kind of that bell cow-ish back. And then, like I said, Matthews, I think even with a healthy Murray, is going to get 200 to 225 touches. And with an injury to Murray, could have a lot more in his huge upside.
You hated Doug Martin so much that you wanted to fight his mom last year.
This is probably true. I don't remember. This is
Charles.
probably true.
And you loved him so much, you wanted to hug his mom. I think.
He looks like a different man this preseason.
He does, yeah. I mean, remember last year, though, you were all over that Charles Sims, and he's all right, too. That's the only thing that kind of scares me about Doug, but Doug's looked good this year. And, obviously last year I was a big fan of him. So for me, those 3 guys, it's Doug, number 1. Who the hell would be second? Ryan's going to be number 3 for me, just because there's no... Yeah, I mean, if Murray goes down, big upside. So I shouldn't say there's no upside. There's no way that he's going to be the feature guy there unless there's an injury.
No.
So I think that's why.
But I think there's a good chance of injury. For me, it's Martin, Matthews, Sankey.
Yeah.
Because I think... I mean, for me, it looks like Martin's going to be the guy in Tampa Bay.
Yep. He's been working first team.
I think Matthews, like I said, Matthews is going to have, I think, 200 to 225 touches with the potential for a lot more. Whereas Sankey, with Cobb there, 200 to 225 touches may be the most if he even gets there. You know what I mean? Like, I think Matthews, even in that secondary role, could have more touches than Sankey as that lead back.
Well, and you're leaving out the Cobb name. This argument comes down to who you think wins the job, right? And as Matt mentioned, Matthew's not winning that job, or who has the job? It's all about the opportunity, right? So whether you believe in someone winning the job or someone getting injured, I see Doug Martin as having the clear path to that bell cow, as we all do. And for me, that second one, if we brought Cobb into the mix, I would actually bring Cobb over Matthews, because I think he has the second best chance to win that bell cow over Sankey. So that Cobb Sankey argument goes both ways in a lot of debates. But for me, I move Cobb into that second role because I think he's going to win that job. So that answers, in terms of those 3, I'm seeing Martin, Matthews, Sankey, but that's just how low I am on Sankey.
Paul Kuharski of ESPN.com, I have no idea who that is, but he works for ESPN, so he's got to be somewhat legit, better than us schmucks. He said he wouldn't be surprised if David Cobb ends up with more carries than Bishop Sankey by the end of the season.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but ESPN called me last week, and I said, fuck off. I work for Blindside.
Well, good for you, then.
Yeah.
It was actually, I was playing Madden, and it was just a little tweet on the video game. Yeah, sorry.
Where do you stand on that, Cobb versus Sankey? I still have Sankey higher, and I mean, it's close, but for me, it's not that close.
I haven't. From what I've seen of Cobb, I don't. Neither one of these guys jump off the television to me. I don't think either one of them are supreme.
They both looked pretty great though in the last
preseason game.
They both looked pretty good. I don't think either one of them. But neither one of them was. Oh my God, this guy looks like Trey Watts.
Oh Jesus,
that name. No, I mean honestly though, because I think they're not going to give up on Sankey yet. He's going to be the guy going into the season, and he did look good the other night. We'll see if he keeps the... As of now, it's him for me. But I could see the whole narrative, Rob, where, halfway through the year, quarter of the end of the year, Cobb kind of takes over that role. But Sankey, for the first time, actually, last preseason game, I liked what I saw. He looked good.
And I think if you like...
It made him vault up for me just slightly.
If you like the off-the-season factors, my rankings will make more sense. I see this competition as driving both of them. So
speaking of your rankings, where are they at?
They're coming. They're coming. I'm waiting for after our home draft.
He's waiting until after everybody else is drafted.
No, after you two have drafted.
To help people.
Yeah, no, it's a matter of having you guys steal everybody I want, or letting everybody know my rankings. But
can you just make a copy of it for me on draft day so I can use it?
Oh, sure, yeah, I'll send it your way. Yeah. No, but for me, yeah, it's all about, you know, who you think emerges from this backfield. I think is relevant.
Is it relevant? No, I'm just kidding. Of course it's relevant. Where's he going?
It might not be intentional.
Well, you know, what if somebody wins this and it's 60-40? I think somebody wins it and it's 80-20, personally. So if you think that, you're gambling on one of these guys, and I definitely am.
Real quick, there's 3 teams I want to go over that I think it's an either-or situation here. One or the other guy could win the starting job. I want to start with Atlanta, Tevin Coleman, and Devonta Freeman. How close are those guys to you, and which one are you picking? For me right now, it's Tevin Coleman, because I don't think he's going to start with the job, but I think he's going to be the guy that finishes with it.
I wish I knew more. But tell me about Tevin Coleman.
We wish you knew more too, Rob.
No. But in terms of what I've seen, I've seen limited snaps of him. What?
I think Indiana, right? High school, college, yeah.
I know he's a big play guy,
yeah,
right?
No, Matt, Atlanta
Explosive.
Falcons.
Yeah, I'm talking. I'm sure he was at Indiana. Smack me. I might be wrong on that. That'd be terrible. But I'm pretty sure he was the Indiana guy. He is explosive, no doubt about that. But Freeman also was, you know, back at Florida State. He was similar in that. I think the writing's on the wall. They didn't see what they liked from Freeman last year. It's going to be Coleman's job, I think. Yeah, yes. It's going to be Coleman's job, I think, by the mid-season. You know, easy to say that.
It takes that long?
Maybe not. Yeah, I think Coleman for me would be the one of the two that I would pick. But right now, there's no clarity. I don't think.
Good pass blocker, because I mean that's a pass. That's a pass offense.
I mean, it's tough. I'd have to see more in the preseason, and I haven't yet.
Yeah.
It's, obviously, the NFL is a different level.
And it's been pretty quiet out of camp with his injury and things. So yeah.
Well,
both of them. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like there's been no clarity to this. This is a tough one to pick. Just the fact that they picked him again, you know, picked another running back. I think it says to us, similar to the Titans, maybe they aren't sold on Freeman, so they picked up another guy. And I think Coleman, I think he is going to take over the job eventually, maybe from the gate, who knows. It's just there's really no clarity on this. This is one of the toughest in the NFL, who's going to be the guy here in Atlanta. You know, I think it's the toughest one to be definite about, to know.
And then if we translate this to drafts, these guys are so close in ADP. If you're on one of those those swing picks, if you're on one of those swing picks, this might be a good scenario to lock up. You know, late in the. I'm looking at the ADPs now. What round are we in here? We're in the.
If I had to guess, around seventh, eighth.
Yeah, so if you
maybe 6th round.
If you're in that swing round, it might be a good opportunity to nab both. And
Coleman's 86 and Freeman's 110. And so by looking at the ADPs, you know, I think they're echoing my sentiment that it's going to be Coleman.
Yeah.
And I agree. So, but honestly, I got nothing to base that on. There's just not been a ton of talk about it.
No, they've both been hurt, so it's kind of hard to tell right now. I just think it ends up being Tevin Coleman. They drafted him for a reason, or that's at least my thought. Next up, the Giants' backfield.
Oof.
Rashad Jennings obviously is the incumbent, but Andre Williams getting a lot of hype in the preseason that may have overtaken Rashad Jennings. How are you drafting the Giants' backfield?
I'm not.
Yeah. That answers it.
But yeah, I mean, if you put a gun to my head and made me pick one, I'm going to go Williams.
Then you're going to pull the trigger.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm going to go Williams.
It's funny though. People that had Jennings early last year, he was a stud. You know,
I think he's a better player.
Yeah,
definitely. Just from what I've been hearing, the talk of Williams and Jennings is no spring chicken. Obviously, he's been a guy. Jacksonville. Obviously behind MJD's kind of tough. But it's, for me, I think he's the better player, no doubt about it. But it doesn't seem, from what I've been hearing, that
It doesn't
he's.
seem like the Giants feel that
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they're wrong. I'm not.
Cleveland backfield.
Yeah, another one. Man, my boy Isaiah
Spin the
Crowell.
wheel. I mean,
Yeah.
Believe what I see on tape, and it's still since last year Crowell for me. But Duke Johnson's the guy that nobody really knows about. We haven't seen anything, So
You've always been high on Crowell.
I love Crowell.
Yeah.
All year last year, and
you like the sleeper guys. You like those deep guys that you think. You like your Trey Wattses.
I'm just. I'm a running back.
Crowell,
Savant.
Murray, they're your
I'm
Trey
a running back
Wattses.
savant. Give me some tape. Let me watch them. I'll tell you who's good. It's that easy. The problem is Crowell. Obviously, the things that I don't get to see is the, off season, the practice, how he shows up to camp, what kind of work he puts in. I get a feeling, obviously, him and West aren't showing enough of that. That's why they brought Duke in, because I thought both of them looked pretty good last year as rookies. But there's a reason Crowell has fallen, from college all the way to the draft. There's obviously some factors outside of the field between the lines that he struggles with. So I guess take the wild card, Johnson. I don't know. What do you think? For me, it's still Crowell, just because I think he's the best
I'm staying away
player.
from all of them.
Yeah.
I'm just not touching any of them.
Yeah.
I think
where you have to draft him, it's tough.
Duke's
It-
value
listen,
is
even-
Duke's value could be great.
Yeah, that's true.
And we haven't seen much. Put him in an Abdullah role right now, and,
Loved him
and
in Miami last year.
basically he's not playing, and they're saying nobody's running away with it.
Yeah.
So what that tells me is, nobody's impressing enough that they're willing to put them up front and say, this is our guy, when Duke's in. It feels like they're waiting to me.
Last preseason, West was the number one guy. He was the first team, and I don't get it, but
I guess for me, they're all going to get touches. You're never going to know who's the guy. And even if you do you want the lead running back for the Cleveland Browns?
well, I'll take a lead back for anybody if you're talking my RB2 flex type.
What?
If I knew, if they come out tomorrow and Pettin says
As your
my number
RB2.
one is Isaiah
You're
Crowell, I love Isaiah. Yeah,
So you're saying Isaiah Crowell, if you knew he was the lead back, is a top 24 running back?
yeah, if he was the unquestioned man,
I'd
yeah,
agree. Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, if you know that, but you don't know that.
But you're saying unquestioned man. I don't think it's going to be that way. It's not going to be like he gets 80% of the
Yeah,
carries. if he's
I'm
the
just
guy.
telling you, if I knew he was the guy, if they came out and said, all right, he's our starter, this is what we're doing, yeah, I think he could finish in the top 24 if he's getting number one guy work. Yeah.
Right, number one guy work. But you don't, I don't think it's going to be that cut and dry with him. Right now, he's number one on the depth
What's
chart.
your question?
He's number one on the depth chart right now. If they say he's our starter coming into week one, he's a top 24 guy for you, week one.
Yeah.
Obviously, without
Yep.
looking at who they're playing and all that.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
if week one rankings, he's the number one starter. It's been said it's going to happen. Yes, he's top 24 for me.
So,
yeah.
so let's for a second assume Todd Gurley sits out, Arian Foster's out. You're putting Crowell ahead of Trey Mason or Alfred Blue.
Yep.
Yes.
Trey Mason, though? Really? Oh.
Trey will be up there, I guess. Yeah, but why'd you pick those two names?
I don't know. So, honestly, they're the next two after.
Tune in week one for Matt's rankings. And
Honestly, because Trey Mason and Alfred Blue are the next two people that go after Isaiah Crowell, according to Fantasy Pros.
And I would rather have both of them for week one as of today, because I know. I guess I don't know about Gurley, but yeah, I got a good feeling Mason is going to be the bell cow week one, and Blue,
Yeah.
no question. So yeah,
Right.
right now I got them ahead of Crowell, but I thought the question was who's going to be the guy. It's going to be Crowell. Okay, yes, top 24 for me. That's all.
Actually, I just want to back up to the Giants backfield. We didn't talk about him. Shane Vereen is in there too.
Yeah,
Don't care.
no, we
Irrelevant.
didn't talk
Out.
about him for a reason.
A late PPR fly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, we're getting pretty deep into the guys now. Is there anybody else that really jumps out to you guys that you want to spend a little bit of time talking about?
I mean, Gio Bernard going where he is.
I like
If-
Gio.
Yeah,
I like Gio where he's
you're,
going.
you're an injury
Especially-
away from a top 15 running back.
Yes, especially in PPR leagues.
Yeah.
And Gio has shown that talent before.
Yep.
Matt, I was showing you earlier today in the Scott Fish Bowl, 12-team PPR league with some funky scoring. I got him in like the 5th or the 6th round in the PPR draft. I thought that was amazing value. Yeah, I mean, I like Gio.
Gio's the number 28 running back right now.
I think it's
now,
crazy.
There's some guys behind him that I would pick over him, but I could see huge upside. Like I said, he's an injury away from. I think talent-wise, he's one of the better running backs in the league. One of the better.
I was very surprised last year when they drafted Jeremy Hill because
Yeah.
I thought he looked amazing the year before.
Yeah.
I was really surprised they went with another running back.
And now speaking of Gio, and the last conversation we were talking about bell cows, or guys that you know are the starters, who do you like better, Chris Ivory or Gio Bernard?
Bernard.
Ivory.
And that's my Ivory's my biggest debate this year.
Definitely.
I struggle in mocks where to draft him.
Yeah.
He'll slip in some, and in some, I feel like I'm reaching for him. So for me, he's my he defines a lot of my drafts in those mid rounds with do I take him, do I not take him, and I lean taking him. I don't know, and this might be me believing the off the field hype, but for me, I think no Chris Johnson, which whatever that's worth, but
Not much.
but Ivory is
that and a nickel will get you 5 cents.
if you believe that starter argument we had, depending on what side you fall on there, I fall on the starter side. I like Ivory.
Yeah, but obviously, if there was no such thing as Jeremy Hill, talent-wise, is no question.
Agreed.
It's just the fact that right now I'm pretty sure I know, work-wise,
Right.
touches, which I talked about, I'm just big on those. He's the no-question guy there. He even caught a few passes last preseason game. He looked good out of the backfield, which he does not do, so that's interesting.
I'm a Fitzmagic guy. I like Fitzpatrick. I think with him in there, instead of Geno, they go to more of a pass offense. And Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker, Jason Morrow, I think they pass a lot more. I get it, no Chris Johnson, whatever. Rex Ryan's gone.
You heard it here,
They're
folks. The Jets pass offense.
Do you like Fitzpatrick
You're a
because
deep
of his
sleeper.
ability to grow an outstanding beard like you can, or is it because he's a good football player?
You can't-
Strictly just beard.
You can't deny the beard. Speaking of which, wait, totally off topic. Have you guys seen like the Beard Shave Club commercials on YouTube? Have you seen this yet about the dollar beard club things? Have you seen this?
Yes.
Rob's kinda
Yeah,
nodding his
I've seen
head.
them.
Yeah,
I've seen
actually, you
them.
told me. No, you
Amazing.
told me about it. Yeah.
Amazing.
What about Brett Favre? Who's he? He's advertising now for like Tough Shave or something. Like, is that hurt somebody? Never heard of these guys.
Hey, when you're sending some dick pics to some random chicks on through text messages and stuff,
Yeah.
that's gonna hurt a little bit. That's gonna hurt the old wallet.
I thought he would probably charge for that though. It's Brett Favre.
I wonder if in the background of those, I mean, I don't want to see them, but
He's wearing his
in the
lead-
background, the Wranglers are like throwing over his shoulder.
He's wearing his Wrangler jeans. He's shaving with this like tough blade. It's like, God, geez. My wife actually said, "What is that, Brett Favre?" Yeah, he's. I don't know what happened. I thought he made plenty of money, but
I'm a man. I got a beard. I got my Wrangler jeans. I need some money. Give me my money. So we're going way off the rails now.
No.
Any other running backs we want to touch on before we go?
I don't want to touch any running backs unless you're talking about the Lingerie Football League.
Yes.
But just make some things you want to make sure you're doing. Handcuffs. Get your Heron if you've got Gore. Get your McKinnon if you've got Adrian, especially where you're going to have to draft Adrian. There's some important handcuffs out there to make sure you pick up late.
I'm sold on the handcuffs that are, number one, the dedicated handcuff, and number two, the handcuff you can get late. So the McKinnons, the James Starks, those types of guys. That's part of the reason why I really don't like guys like Jamal Charles. Charles touches have been going down every year, but then you also have to spend a fairly high pick on getting a guy like Niall Davis.
And that's another. You want to make sure
Things like that.
Kinda
I don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
I don't. I'd rather draft a Marshall Faulk. Jesus Christ, Marshawn Lynch.
I'd rather draft Marshall Faulk too. He was awesome.
Yeah. Marshawn Lynch, and then really late get a Robert Turbin or something like that.
Isn't it funny? You see Marshawn Lynch today. He's like a chubby old man. You're like, how was he one of the greatest running backs ever in the NFL?
Just doesn't talk
It's
in his
crazy.
interviews. Yeah.
It's insane.
He's
like
great though. When he does talk, he is awesome.
Oh yeah, he's good. He's good.
I would want to be like friends with him in real life. He just seems like a cool guy. Like, just doesn't talk much and just is really real with it. I don't know. He's not Brett Favre. He's not shaving his beard and throwing his Wranglers over his shoulder.
No, he doesn't need to. He works for the NFL Network, making bank.
Brett Favre? What? What are you talking about? Favre?
No, Marshall Falk.
He doesn't work for the NFL Network.
Which one does he work for? ESPN?
Oh, Marshall Falk. Yeah,
Yeah.
Marshall Falk's for ESPN. Yes.
Oh, I thought it was NFL Network. Well, that's why.
Oh wait, is it NFL Network? No wait.
That's why. That's why he's not. That's why he's not
idea.
showing off underwear and stuff.
I think
has
NFL.
a job.
We are totally
Yeah.
off the rails. We need
Yeah.
to end this podcast.
Yeah,
All
definitely.
right, guys, check back next week. I promise we will have one next week on wide receivers to finish that up. And then maybe if we can fit one in, maybe an extra podcast just on some draft strategy and things like that. So you guys want to add anything before we go?
No, I got to work on my super deep sleeper running back that we can talk about every single podcast this year, don't I? I'll get on that.
Trent Richardson?
No.
I'll talk you into it. But
Maybe.
we'll see.
I'll tell you about him next week after our home draft. I'll
Yeah,
tell you all
that's
about
true.
him.
You know what? That's terrible.
All right, we'll see you guys next week for wide receivers.
We got like 2 weeks left of Rob before he leaves the podcast. You know how he goes.
Just goes away.
He just disappears. He's all gung-ho to start, and then he's gone.
We were totally trailing off. We just lost all listeners.
I was waiting for the new studio. Now I'm here. I'm
Bye,
here.
guys.
See ya!